Well, this gCADPlus design is an example of an irrigation layout for a grassed area and for some garden beds along the side here. But all designs of this type are going to need a legend. Notice that in this legend, the piece of text that describes a Hunter rotator spray, it's got a very long piece of text. What I've done is used instead, that's single line text. Let's click on it and it's a piece of text. If we double click here and copy that text and then use the M text option, that's draw text and multi-line text, I can put the same information in a different text entity, an M text entity. So I can happily remove this, pick up that piece of text and move it into position, like so, line it up neatly, and now I can make my legend look a little neater. And unselect all, so that the legend, I think, looks just a little neater. I'd be inclined in designs of this type to move the legend away, because we can always make a new floating viewport in a layout so that we can see that legend. And let's do that. So here's the A3 sheet. Click here and say I'm going to add a viewport and just draw a box for your legend like so. I always make it hang out over the side of the original layout. Double click there and just bring your legend in like so, fairly crudely to start with, but just position it so that the whole of the legend is inside the box, then display it on the layout. Once you've got that done, we could then move it into position like so. What you could do is make the colour of the floating viewport 255 so that boundary won't show. So there's our legend sitting nicely on the sheet. Let's come back here and zoom out and come across here. The next step will be to extract some quantities. So I'm just positioning the design in the way I want, and it's gCADPlus, extract blocks. Here we are, block data, extract, not all blocks, but from an area. So we just draw a box around the area of interest, making sure we've got all the irrigation blocks that are in there, and hit enter. And now we're going to the desktop, so we'll just call this irrigation. And we're done. That's made a CSV file that can go straight into Excel. And if we just bring that back a little, and if I take a look at the blocks in the drawing and we move down here, can you see that the blocks now have meaningful names, and those meaningful names will come out in the extraction. There are quite a few blocks in this drawing that we don't need or are not needed, so we could use tools and purge unused objects. 39 of them not being used have now been removed. So I think we've got quite a clean and relatively small drawing. If I go File and File Size, it's 680. There may still be some blocks there, probably title blocks and other information that is taking up some space. So next step, start up Excel and bring the schedule in. Well, I've started Excel just using a blank workbook, and I've switched to the Data tab, and now I'm going to insert from a CSV file. So we go to the desktop, pick up that irrigation CSV file, and then we load it. It takes a moment or two to pick up all that information, and it's now sitting inside Excel. We need to do a little bit of manipulation of this data and do some counting, but all the information that was in that design has now come across, much of which we don't actually need. We certainly don't need the key, so we just hide it all the layer information and hide it, and we can hide the X and Y values. So we're left now with a column A with some numbers in it, and then column B with the names of the blocks that were in the drawing. Now the numbers don't actually mean anything here, so we really want to insert a new column between column A and column B. So to do that, it's just a matter of putting your mouse up there in the top and insert. That will insert a column there. We'll widen that column just a little, and we can now hide column A, and I'll insert a row here, and then we'll come down here. This is all the halves. There's the full circles, there are 2 of those, and we can insert there. There are a number of half circles, and we can insert a row at that point there. So we've got all the half circles, the full circles, and then the quarter circles, and so on. So just spend a little time prettying things up, and then you could put in here, well, clearly you can count those easily. The total for those is just 2, and here it's total, whoops, TOTAL, and in this cell you could use an Excel function. So we say equals count if, and then a left bracket, and indicate your range like so, and then a comma and quote, just put a star, which just means anything in there. That'll pick up all the text above it, so we know we've got a value of 5. Then you could copy that formula and pop it down into this area here. So can you see that it's quite easy to get that materials list out of your gCADPlus drawing?